My dear brothers and sisters, we welcome ourselves back to our teachings on the divorce. We have begun the session by our prayer of the rosary. We would now continue with the teaching, after which I would take questions. The topic, as we know, is divorce, separation, and annulment. Divorce, separation, and annulment. I'd like to welcome our friends who have joined us for this second part. All of us, let us feel free. Let me remind each and every one of us that for the past few weeks, we have been looking at divorce. Today, we would like to spend the time looking at separation. Please let us keep the question onto separation so that afterwards we can ask our questions on separation. We have spent our time doing divorce. Now what we have established is that marriage is a bond. Marriage is a bond. You know that when you are married, there is a bond that binds you and your partner. Where does this bond come from? What is the source of this bond? In Matthew chapter 19, verse 7, we are told, "What therefore God has joined together, let no man put asunder." That means that when there is that bond cannot be dissolved except for death. Now, we know that there is, when a lot of times when you are going to have the wedding, you say you are going to tie the knot. When you tie the knot, you cut the cord. That is the terms they use in when they are delivery of children. You tie the knot and you cut the cord, the umbilical cord. At the time of marriage, we tie the knot onto another person, and then you cut the cord that binds you with your family or with your family of origin, whether with your friends or whatever. But a lot of times when people enter into marriage, they are not able to cut the cord. Sometimes it is very, very interesting that a mother gives birth to a child and the umbilical cord is cut, yet the mother feels joined to the child. Yet when you are grown, you join yourself, you join your knot to another person. And then that one is incumbent on you to carry that until death. And yet you see a lot of parents would love their children better than their spouse. That is very strange, because you have a covenant with your spouse, but you don't have a covenant with your child. Children are temporal assignments. When they have finished their duty, they will leave and they will go. But spouses are covenant until death. Yet many of us do not understand it so. This is why we call it what? Wedlock. So when you are in wedlock, you have become joined to your partner. This is what a lot of times people say, join us as we tie the knot. It means that marriage is a knot. It is a bond. It is a covenant that cannot be easily broken. Awareɛ yɛ adeɛ bi a ɛkyɛ sɛ ne kwan ɛware yɛn hyɛ aseɛ ne yɛn nyae ɛwɔ kwan mu. So we continue. Now you see the picture that we have seen. Marriage as a wedlock. People are dragging their marriages, or you can make the angel, the Cupid, help you. You see, if you look at the picture that is up, you see that the two are in hand, and with the angel supporting them, they are carrying their load, but it doesn't seem to be so heavy. But in the second picture, you see that as if both of them are struggling, each one for himself, and they have put God aside. When you put God aside, marriage becomes very, very difficult. Now we talk about what is the role of the church and the state in marriage, especially when it comes to divorce and separation. What is the state? Now you see, the state is responsible. The state only dissolves the civil aspect of marriage when it grants divorce. When you have divorce, the state only gives you freedom of the civil duties and responsibilities, but the spiritual bond is kept by the spiritual authorities that put you together. So marriage becomes a covenant. That means that when you want to separate or when you want to have your freedom, there is the need for you to think about the civil aspect, for you to think about the spiritual aspect. And if your marriage too is by a traditional marriage, you also make sure that you get it annulled by the traditional aspect. So the civil aspect, what are some of the civil effects of marriage? For example, it is the state can pass laws concerning the ownership of properties of husband and wife, laws concerning inheritance, laws that will protect you, even punish you when there is bigamy or adultery. So even in the law of the civil law, I mean, when there is adultery, you know that by the civil law, they can punish you by allowing the divorce. Or bigamy, that means whilst you have not divorced your marriage, you go and marry another person. So the state has its own laws and effect, and the church or the spiritual authorities also have effect. So you see that marriage, when it is conducted in the church, apart from the many effects, you have two essential duties that you must fulfill. These are very important, and this will follow you as long as you are married. So one is that marriage deals with what? It is a partnership of your whole life, which is ordered by its nature to the good of the spouses. So it means that once you are married in the church, you have to have a common life ordered to the good of the two of you. And the second one is that because of that wedlock, you must be open to procreation, and that means you must have you. It is open to intimacy, sexual intimacy, and also if God gives you children, then you must be open to the education or the formation or the upbringing of the children, as we find in Gaudium et Spes number 48 or Canon 1055. I am bringing these things up because it is your duty to fulfill, it is your duty to be fulfilled as long as you are married. But what about if you cannot fulfill this? Remember, once you are married, the thing is that you live, you unite, and you are joined to one flesh. Why do you do that? Why do you live? Why are you united? Why do you become one flesh? These are the two reasons that I am saying up there. One, that you have a common life. Two, that you have a person that you have intimacy, sexual intimacy with. So you see that the spiritual ends of marriage ensures that most of the time the couple must be together, must have a common life together. But what about if that life is difficult to achieve? So just as the state cannot divorce traditional marriage, so it cannot dissolve the bond of the church marriage and vice versa. So the state cannot free you. If you have divorce from the court, you don't have freedom from the power that put you together in the church. And you don't have that power that put you together traditionally. The same way, the church cannot also give you the powers that the state has got. So each one keeps its own. As we know the popular saying, "Ubia indi nifiasem." So the state deals with the civil effect. The church deals with the spiritual effect, and the traditional families also deal with the customary effect of marriage. If therefore, if that is the case, then it is interesting to state emphatically that when somebody is seeking divorce, and the purpose of the divorce is merely to ensure that you have the state protection, so that the civil effect of the state is taken off you, so that you can have your peace, then such a divorce per se is not wrong as at now. Let me repeat this part. When you have your divorce or you are seeking divorce to obtain the sanction and the protection of the state, to live separate from your partner. Example, maybe your partner is molesting you, is harassing you, you can't stay again. You want your freedom. Yes, you can go, you may go and seek divorce. But I have to add, in this case, remarriage is out of the question. If you have your divorce in court, you do not have the permission for remarriage. And as long as you have not remarried and you are living single, you have your peace. So, how do you leave your partner? Is it because you just want or you cannot stay again? You just get up and go? No. That brings us to the question of separation and annulment. Separation and annulment for today. When you look at all marriages or a lot of marriages, you will find out that not all marriages from the beginning are valid. That is why I said some time ago that not every marriage is joined by God. I will explain this in my next teaching when we deal with what? Annulment. So we shall deal with how to prove the invalidity of a Christian marriage, of a Catholic marriage, of a marriage in church in our next session. But for today, what we are interested in is that if I have difficulty, if there are difficulties in marriage and I cannot stay any longer, what do? I can't divorce. What can I do? I can separate. I can move away from the marriage. How do I do it? How do I do it? How do I move? Remember, I say that separation with the bond remaining. That means that when I say you are separated, it doesn't mean you are free to go and remarry or redo anything that deals with marriage. So Canon 1151 says that spouses have the duty and the right to preserve conjugal living unless a legitimate cause excuses them. Conjugal living means that you have the duty to make sure that one, you remember the two reasons. One is that you are living together, the common good for the good of the spouses. And two, you are having and enjoying the sexual intimacy that also is open to what? Is open to procreation. But if there is a legitimate cause, then you may be excused from performing this duty. Now, I know some of you will be asking, Father, then what is the legitimate cause, or what excuses me, or what gives me the opportunity to separate myself from my partner? We are coming there gradually. But you have to be forewarned. In Hebrews chapter 5, verse 4, the author of the Hebrews, the letter to the Hebrews says that no one takes this honor upon himself. No one takes the honor upon yourself. So normally the rule is that the person who put you together is the one who can help you to separate or who can help you to go your way. So remember, when you wanted to marry, you didn't do it alone. When you want to separate, you can't do it alone. You can't just get up and say that, yes, me, I am tired, so I am going my way. No, that is not how to do it. So the law says in Canon 1692 that unless other provision legitimately made in a particular case, a decree of the diocesan bishop or the judicial sentence can decide the personal separation of baptized spouses according to the norm of the following canons. What does it mean? It means that if you are going to separate yourself from your partner, you need the bishop who is the father of the diocese, if you like, the grandfather. It may be the priest, your parish priest, or your pastor is your father of the sheep. You know, when you say a pastor, you are talking about the one who cares for the sheep. So the pastor, the priest, is your father, and the grandfather who takes care of everything is the bishop. Before any spouse will live a life of separation, you need a decree, you need a letter, you need a permission, you need the church to come in to be able to. So marriage is a serious thing. A lot of people don't know this, and they just decide that they are separated. And if you do that, if you separate without that, what is happening is that you are affecting the common union, that is the communion, because the communion is all of us together. So if you separate yourself, then you are not fulfilling your God-given duty. And once you are not fulfilling your God-given duty, it becomes what? It becomes a grave sin. So my dear brother, my dear sister, I want to repeat. If you are a husband or a wife and you are married and there are difficulties, one, you may separate. But you don't just separate. You need to approach the people who put you together in the church marriage so that it will not be that everybody takes it upon himself. No. The answer is no. Be careful, all of us. Okay. The next one, the canon, that is very, very interesting. I know a lot of people would want to know this. What are the grounds for separation? There is one main ground or grounds for separation. That means that when I say separation, I am saying that you can move away from your partner, live your independent life. You are not bound by common life together, and you are not bound by sexual intimacy, but you are bound by care of the children. So that is what I mean by separation. Meanwhile, you are married, so you can't go and remarry. You can't go and get into a relationship. If you get into a relationship, it is simply going to be called adultery. So what is the law saying? Although it is earnestly recommended that a spouse moved by Christian charity and concern for the good of the family not refuse forgiveness to an adulterous partner and not disrupt conjugal life. That means that before we do all this, if your partner has committed adultery, you will be helped to forgive and help the partner. However, if the spouse, you yourself, you did not condone to the fault of the other, explicitly or tacitly, the spouse has the right to sever the conjugal living. It means that when you are not the cause of the infidelity, or we should use the adultery of your partner, and you cannot forgive and you want your freedom, you have a right to do that. However, make sure that one, you yourself, you are not the cause. How can you be the cause of your husband or your partner's adultery? One, maybe you denied him. Two, maybe you yourself, you have caused the adultery, but you have because you have caught him or her, you say he is the one who has caused adultery. Maybe you have denied him in a way such that it has caused him to do that. These are ways by which we cause that. So the church will look into this before it will grant anybody the right to be able to live outside fulfilling your marital or your conjugal duties. You can't do it yourself because you didn't marry yourself. It's simple logic. Unless if you don't want the church to come in, then when it is time for your marriage, marry yourself. You understand? But that is not possible. Nobody takes this honor upon himself. Okay? So that is a very, very important point. Number two is that now tacit condonation exists. That is, condonation here means you have forgiven or you have approved if the innocent spouse has had marital relationship voluntarily with the other spouse after having become certain of the adultery. Now, please get it clear here. If you find out your spouse has committed adultery, and you say that as for you, you can't forgive. Hey, well, then if you voluntarily, nobody forces you, you go and have intercourse with your partner, then you are saying that you have forgiven or you have let go of the situation. Again, if you continue to live with your partner, not just having sex, but you just maybe you have withdrawn sexual act, fine, but within 6 months you have not reported it to the church or to the tribunal, then it is considered that you have agreed to stay with him. So continue and live with him. Number one, I say, if you have intercourse with him or her after you have caught him or her in adultery, and you voluntarily, nobody forces you, and you have intercourse, it is presumed that you have forgiven your partner. 2, if even you have withdrawn or you have not withdrawn, but you say that you are continuing living with your partner, but you have not reported the case to the church over more than 6 months, then it is considered that you have forgiven your partner. So then you are encouraged to live with him or her. So if you know that you want to ask for this, make sure that within 6 months you approach the church, state your case, and bring your situation to be held. Again, another thing that is also interesting for us is that if the innocent spouse has severed the conjugal living voluntarily, the spouse is to introduce a cause for separation within 6 months to the competent ecclesiastical authority. So within 6 months, you must report the issue to the church. That is your decision to stay out or to deny your partner for this long. You see, a lot of us don't understand that marital intercourse is something that is sacred, and nobody can decide that I deny my partner. Even Paul says that when the two of you decide that you are not going to have intercourse, let it not be for long. So the church, as a rule, says that not more than 6 months. After 6 months, if you are living with the partner and you have not complained and decided that you are leaving, then consider it that you have forgiven him or her, and you want to be able to continue the relationship. Again, remember here that Canon Law recognizes only adultery as the legitimate ground for permanent separation. Let me repeat that. Only adultery is a reason or a ground for permanent separation. That means that if it is in the case of adultery and you have not had voluntary intercourse with your partner, and you have not continued to live with your partner for 6 months without reporting it, you may seek this so that the church will give you a dispensation or a permission for you to stay away from your partner permanently, as long as it is your right. However, remember that you have accused your partner of adultery. So if you too, after that, go and be with another person, you who know the truth, if you also go and live with another person in another form of marriage, then you have caused double sin. Because number one, you know what adultery is, and you say you won't forgive. Number two, now that you are not forgiven, you are going to do the same. So that is DP, double punishment. So if you say that you are not going to forgive your partner, fine, it is your right. You can go. If you are given the certificate of separation, you need it before you take that right. Then you may be able to go. However, when you go, make sure that you are living a single life until the death of your partner. So I don't know, this is just a joke. Maybe you may want to pray during the month of Rosary for the death of your partner. Well, be careful of such prayers. I always say, maybe as you are praying such prayer, before you realize, you yourself, you are gone and your partner will still be living. So be careful of such prayers. Okay, now that is just an aside. Okay. Now, apart from the adultery, which can give you permanent separation, permanent separation, if you are given a certificate of separation, not by yourself, by the way, now there are other reasons. Number one is what? Grave mental or physical danger. That is violence. If there is violence in your marriage, and you cannot support it. And in fact, many of us should be taught not to support violence, because some people think that for the sake of marriage, they can abuse physically, emotionally, whateverly. They abuse their partners in the name of marriage. You don't have a right. If your partner knows his or her right, he has a right to separation. You must be careful here. And the church, which put them together because of the fundamental right of abusing the person, will give a certificate of separation. So men, be careful. Women, be careful. But number one is that it is not only when the danger is to the spouse. If even the danger is to the children. So, for example, if you are always beating your children, if you are putting fire on them, if you are always mistreating them, molesting them, the child, but the wife, you don't do anything, but the husband, you don't do anything, one of the spouse can ask for separation, because the children that we have, you are molesting them. So either you molest your spouse, or you cause violence, physical violence, emotional violence, verbal violence, and whatever, that the other person cannot support any longer. Number two is that when you render a common life too difficult, now here, too difficult, it is for the court and the bishop who is acting through the court to decide. Because everybody can say that, oh, as for me, I'm tired, I can't go again. No, that's not how marriage works. Before you can get too difficult a situation, you need to prove that the partner is being unreasonable. And if you stay in that marriage, for example, maybe you die, maybe you just develop some heart attack, or maybe you just die like that, or something will happen to you. Yes, you need, in fact, when it happens to you and it is that serious, you yourself can move out. Then you seek the churches, you seek for what? The certificate. But what we are talking about here is all about what? It's all about separation, not remarriage. In all cases, when the cause for separation ceases, conjugal living must be restored unless the authority has established otherwise. What do we mean here? So if, for example, there is a financial difficulty, and because of that you have separated, and the man or the woman has taken up his responsibility and has proven to the court that he would do or she would do his or her responsibility, you will be encouraged to come back if the person has repented and there is signs to prove that. Okay. Now, again, we have what we call the post separation, issues. And the post separation issues, what are they? They are that care for the children after separation. Once there is separation, it doesn't mean that we are free to do what we want. When there is separation, we have to take care of the children. They must get adequate support. They must take care of them in their education and the like. Then the last one is that reconciliation and the right to separate. So once you are separated, you must always keep in mind that it is possible for you to be reconciled, but the right belongs to you. You have the right to be reconciled, or you have the right to stay separate. after. But remember, no remarriage until the death of your partner. Thank you very much. I shall open the lines now for our questions. Okay, somebody has asked, please, Father, can you give us a small summary in three? Okay. Niemikai ni nyinaa ne fapem ne se awaregyaeɛ ɛyɛ ade a onyame akyiri. Na ɛtɔ so mmienu, sa awaregyaeɛ ɛnni hɔ a, bɛrima bɛtumi bɛtumi efiri ne yere nkyɛn anaa ɔbaa bɛtumi efiri ne kunu nkyɛn abere a awareɛ no ɛwɔ hɔ anaa aane. Na ansa na wobɛyɛ saa no, gye sɛ obiara ɛmfa saa tumi no ɛmmɔ ne bo so ansa na wokɔ ware no, ɛyɛ asɔre ɛna ɛde mu bɔɔ mu. Nti sɛ wopɛ sɛ wotwi wo ho fi awareɛ no so a, ɛwɔ sɛ asɔre ɛna ɛyɛ dɛn ɛde mu ɛma wo saa tumi no. Nti obiara ɛmfa nto ne ho sɛ me deɛ mayɛ dɛn mefi me kunu ho anaa mefi me yere ho. Sɛ wofa saa tumi no ɛbɔ wo bo a, ne kyerɛ sɛ wasodie a ɛda wo so no wayɛ bɔne. Nti wokɔ edidie kronkron mpo a ɛnyɛ yie ɛsiane sɛ edwuma a asodie a ɛda wo so no wonyɛ. Nti yɛtwe ho efi den communion kronkron mu. Ebio ɛso ne sɛ sɛ edwamanbɔ ɛba a, sɛ yɛnya edwaman a, sɛ obi ɛbɔ edwaman a na sɛ ukyi nipa koro a utumi ɛka sɛ me yiri wei anaa me kunu wei wabɔ edwaman, gyae deɛ mintumi nyae no, na mmom matwe me ho efiri ne nkyɛn. Utwi wo ho firi ne nkyɛn soso a wososo ntumi mfa wo ho nkɔka obi bio. Sɛ wode ho kɔka obi pɛ woso abɔ edwaman, but wo edwaman no ɛyɛ edwaman mmienu. Ade ntia ɛsiane sɛ wo nim ade a ɛyɛ edwaman nti na wotwi wo ho firi wo yere anaa wo kunu no. Number 1. Number 2, wotwi wo ho firi ho so wie a, wasan akɔyɛ ade a woka kyerɛ wo kunu no anaa wo yere sɛ mo nyɛ. Nti ɛno soso ɛna ebio so ne sɛ wo kunu anaa wo yere ɔbɔ wo dodo ɔkasa ɔde kasa bi ɛnyɛ ma na wopɛ sɛ wotwi wo ho fi awareɛ no mu a, ɛkwan wɔ hɔ sɛ etumi atwi wo. Ne nyinaa akyi no, asɔre etumi ma tumi sɛ matwi mo ho efi mo awie no, na afei nkwalahwɛ de deɛ ɛyɛ ade a mo asedi sɛ ɛwɔ sɛ mohwɛ nkwalaa no. Yɛda mo ase. Yo. Somebody is asking, please, Father, may I know if separated partners approved by the church can still go for communion? Yes, please. That is the reason why they are approved by the church, because there is a legitimate reason by which they are separated. So by that reason, they can go for communion. Thank you very much. But if you just separate yourself from your partner, you have just moved keke, and you have not gotten the certificate for 6 months, for 1 year. No, if you go for communion, you are affecting the common union. Nobody takes this honor upon himself. So if by this teaching, we will see that a lot of us are in trouble, maybe because we didn't know, maybe because we didn't care. But mine is to teach. So as you have heard, maybe if it touches you, seek help from your pastor right away. If you have separated from your partner or you are thinking of separating, please. Another person is asking, please, Father, I want to ask if one of the partners is not ready to quit the marriage while the other one insists to quit. What do you mean by quit? I have told you that quit by divorce is not possible. Quit by separation is possible. And if you want to quit by separation, then you don't need the other person's permission. For example, if the other person is always abusing you, is always beating you up, and you want to separate yourself from that marriage, you don't need his or her permission. No, it is your right to exercise it. You can exercise it, but you need to pass through the church. Is there somebody on the line? There's somebody on the line, and let me know. Somebody is also asking,
Yes.
what happened? Yes, somebody on the line, please. Let's hear you. Who is there? Anybody on the line?
Isaac.
Isaac?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I am Isaac from Doha City.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I just want to ask that assuming I am a woman or a wife, and when we got marriage, and I realized that my man cannot perform, like in the sense like the manhood is not working. What should I do? If I say I want to separate, can I separate or I should divorce?
Okay. Now, this is a question that is outside of our discussion today, technically, but some part of it also applies. Now, if your manhood is not working, is not functioning, that means that you know that there is sterility and there is impotence. Okay. Now, for some people, we mix the two. Sterility is the inability to give birth. That means you are not fertile. And then you have the impotence, that is inability to perform the sexual act, to perform a full sexual act. That means that there are some who may go through erection but may not be able to continue with what we call the penetration, or as it is said. Then we are dealing with impotence. Impotence by nature,
Okay.
when it is prior to marriage, renders a person incapable of marriage. I will deal with those things in my next talk. So that one. But if a thing happens within marriage, that applies to our case.
Yes.
If the person becomes impotent in the marriage, or if the person becomes sterile in the marriage, then you cannot leave the person because it is part of the package. It is not the person who has made himself impotent, but the impotence has come. So it is not the person who is making it difficult for you. It has happened to you. It is like giving birth to a child and the child has gotten a disease or a problem. Do you abandon the child? No. So if there is a problem within the marriage, well, it is part of the package that comes along. So it is not part of the reasons that I gave. I gave two reasons. One is what? Adultery, which gives you permission to ask for permanent separation. Two is what? Grave mental or physical abuse, or anything that makes it such that it becomes too difficult for you to live in the marriage. Those are the reasons that may permit for separation. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you. Yeah. So another person is asking, good evening, Father. Thank you for the wonderful program. Thank you. You are welcome. Another person says, if there is anybody on the line, please let me know. Okay. What happens if one of the separated partner gets another lady pregnant? Well, it is just like asking if during marriage you get a woman pregnant, what happens? You see, pregnancy is not marriage. So there are some men who, when they get a woman pregnant, they say, then I must marry. Those are the people who marry because of children. Marriage is not because of children. It is open. It is only open to procreation, and the procreation is not everybody will get it. So, if you get somebody pregnant, that doesn't mean that you have to go and separate from your wife. But if the lady or the man is saying that by the adultery within the marriage, then that is a different thing. But whilst you have separated, you cannot go and do that. Okay. Another person says that, Father, it says questions for last Wednesday teaching. In a situation, somebody on the line. There's somebody on the line.
No.
Questions? Okay. In a situation where an unfaithful partner made known all the unfaithfulness to his or her partner while while the fellow still will the fellow still be considered unfaithful? And I am not sure whether it is within or after. But if it is, if the person has committed adultery, and that is what you call, and the other person is not ready to forgive, the person is at will to exercise his or her fundamental right. You cannot force the person to forgive because it is a right to exercise. As in, no, so I don't say forgive. Yes, you may forgive the person. It is incumbent on you to forgive, but it is not incumbent on you to take the person on. So you can forgive the person and say, I forgive you, but stay your stay and let me stay my stay. That is also there. But you cannot say you cannot forgive. Forgiveness is divine. You have to forgive that one, but you are not forced to accept the person back into the marriage. Yes. Father, thanks for the teaching. Please, is there a special dispensation or absolution for Catholic separated, for a separated Catholic? Yes, there is a process, that a decree that you need to apply. If you apply to the Chancery office of the diocese, or if you ask for the judicial vicar, better still, you may go to the tribunal and you'll be directed. Every diocese has a chancery or has a tribunal, and they can help people who need to get their marriages separated formally so that their communion will be holy. Okay. And which type of counseling does one receive before considering the final decision on separation? Yes, that is called what? It is called post-wedding counseling. Last week we talked about it. We have post-wedding counseling. You need, when people are in marital relationship and there's a difficulty, they go through post-wedding counseling. And if the marriage breaks down altogether, and now even they have annulment and things like that, then such people need post-marital counseling. Okay. Again, we are told here that if somebody says, Father, please, exactly how is the 6 months measured? Wow. From the time that you got to know, from the time that you got to know of the truth, from the time that you got to know of the truth, the 6 months begins. So because you are the one making the complaint. So from the day that you made known to your partner, or you knew that this has been established, my partner has been infidel, then the 6 months begins to, so that if you go to the church and say that my partner has been has caused adultery, then he will ask, when did this happen? About 1 year ago or 2 years ago. That's what it means. No, no, no. You need. Okay. Now, what if you granted a separation? What if you were granted separation based on one of the reasons you gave, and one of the partners decide, instead of getting involved with someone else, decides to enter into a holy vocation? No, it is not possible, because you are still married, just that you are separated. So the bond of marriage still follows you. Separation is not annulment. We have not dealt with annulment. We will deal with that next week. So there is divorce. As for divorce, it is only the civil effect of your marriage that is what dissolved for you. The civil effect of your marriage is dissolved, or it is released during civil divorce. When you go through separation, you are still married, but you are separated, or you are free from fulfilling your marital duties, as long as you have not gone to fulfill another duty. The next one is, okay, which is holy, okay, which holy vocation? That means that I think we are referring to holy orders. Yes, no problem. Yeah. If if I celebrated my holy matrimony in the Catholic Church, my husband is a non-Catholic, so we attend his church. Now that I am considering separation, can I come to the Catholic for help if I celebrated my holy matrimony in a Catholic, if I celebrated my holy matrimony in a Catholic church? My husband is non-Catholic, so we attend his church. Now that I am considering separation, can I come back to the church for help? Yes. Your marriage, as long as you are married, the law will follow you, whether you go to whichever church. Once you marry before God, the 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 the, 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 the laws of marriage will follow you. So if you need separation, yes, you need to come back to be helped. Otherwise, you are, if you meet any other woman or man, you are going to live in adultery. Is there anybody on the line, please? Is there anybody on the line? Okay. These are the questions that have come so far regarding separation. I'm sure with these questions, some people may be rushing straight away to um, the tribunal. But before you go there, think about it, pray about it very well. Now, after this separation, we are now going to look at annulment, so that if is there a possibility for remarriage after the wedding in church? Is there a possibility for remarriage after the wedding in church? Let's wait for next week to get the answers, because it will be very interesting to know after separation what next. So we would, if you are separated, somebody is asking, um, what are the steps that I take? Number one, if you need separation, you need to approach your parish priest, and then he will help you to go to the tribunal. Or you may go to the tribunal straight away, or you may apply to the chancery office, to the chancellor of the diocese, and he will help you, direct you to be able for the bishop to the tribunal to give you a certificate or a decree of what? Of separation, so that you do not just do things. And then somebody is asking, Father, how much does it cost to get the separation? Please, separation is your right, so it doesn't cost you anything. No money is to be paid for your separation. Those who work at the chancery and those who work at the tribunal, in this case, this is nothing that you are paying for that. It is your duty. However, whenever you support the work of God, that is from your heart. But there is no payment of a fee for that. That must be clear. Yes. Thank you very much for the day. It has been Father Raymond coming your way with the teaching on separation in our threefold teaching of divorce, separation, and annulment. If you know your right, you know what you can do. But before you exercise your right, exercise it judiciously. Let us forgive if it is possible. Those of us who are abusive in our marriages, be careful, because very soon most of our partners will be separated from us and they will be gone and we will not be able to do much. I thank you all for today. Shall we bow our heads and we shall pray to receive the final blessing? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, our Father, we thank you for bringing us at your feet, for giving us the opportunity during this pandemic to find hope in your word. Lord, may my words that I have spoken give hope to the married. Give hope to those who are in very difficult, violent relationships. Lord, help us that the marriage will truly represent a relationship between you and your church. Father, grant unto spouse godly behaviors so that our actions will bring us unto salvation. Grant unto anyone who is hearing my word that the grace of marital life may be our portion. For those who are yet to marry, that they may have humility and patience as they discern the will of you, our God. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.